All right, so are you ready to dive deep? Today we're looking at something kind of different. We've got a whole bunch of these Give God 10 Days guides, and honestly, they're not all about the same thing. It's
Yeah. There's a ton of variety. Like there's literally everything from changing your whole life to
whoa,
forgiveness to finding peace to like even manifesting your desires.
whoa, whoa, hold on, manifesting.
Yeah. And even expressing love back to God. There's a whole
It's like a whole spectrum.
spectrum of self-improvement stuff.
Yeah.
But like 20 to 30 minutes a day, finding a quiet space.
Right.
All this structure. That's a lot. Is that even realistic?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, they definitely require commitment.
Yeah.
But for some people, maybe that structure is actually what they need to like actually stick with something.
Okay, so let's get specific then. We've got this Give God 10 Days to Change Your Life guide, and it seems to have like a clear progression.
Yeah, for sure. Day 1 is all about setting intentions. Day 2 is focusing on gratitude. And then day 3, it jumps right into forgiveness.
Wow, okay.
It even suggests writing a letter that you never actually send. A forgiveness letter you don't send. I mean, what's the logic there?
Well, it's actually a technique that therapists use sometimes.
Yeah.
It's about processing those emotions and letting go, even if you're not ready to like confront the person directly. So it could be really powerful if you're holding on to resentment.
I can see that. I love that it's not just about, you changing, but like how you can impact the world around you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It encourages you to find ways to serve others, which might seem kind of counterintuitive in a guide about changing your life. But
Yeah.
what if like dedicating time to serving others actually makes it easier to forgive yourself?
That's a good question.
It's a fascinating connection.
Okay, that's making me think. We also have a guide completely dedicated to forgiveness. Give yourself 10 days to forgiveness. I mean, so many people struggle with letting go of past hurts. Maybe this one dives into that even more.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one acknowledges how self-blame can really hold us back. Like day 4, for example, is all about releasing shame. And it includes this really powerful exercise, writing a compassionate letter to yourself.
That sounds really tough, but also maybe really freeing.
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer like a friend.
Right.
Sometimes we're our own worst critics.
Oh, for sure.
Day 2 actually has you reflect on a time that you forgave someone else to kind of tap into that empathy.
As you can extend that same grace to yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, then we have give yourself 10 days to peace. The world could use a lot more of that right now.
Absolutely. This one focuses on identifying what the guide calls peace stealers.
Okay.
Those things that are consistently disrupting your inner peace,
Yeah.
and then creating a daily ritual with God to cultivate a more lasting sense of peace.
Oh, I love that. Okay, now for something a little different, write everything you want. This is the one about manifesting, right? Isn't that kind of like out there for some people?
Yeah. Well, manifesting is the idea that your thoughts and beliefs can influence your reality. So by writing down your desires as if they're already true, you're aligning your energy with your goals.
Okay.
It's a concept found in many spiritual traditions, and this guide just offers like a structured way to practice it.
So it's not about like wishing for $1 million or something. It's
Yeah,
about
right.
clarifying those desires and aligning yourself with them.
Exactly. Day 9, where you write about your legacy, it kind of ties it back to a sense of purpose. It's about the impact you want to have on the world, not just material things.
Ah, okay.
Hmm.
Now this last one is intriguing. Give God 10 days of unconditional love. It mentions fasting, which can be kind of a loaded term.
Yeah.
What does that even look like in this context?
So fasting in this context isn't necessarily about food. It could be giving up anything that distracts you from connecting with God. Like day 9 encourages choosing something meaningful to sacrifice, even if it's just for a day, and using that time for like prayer or reflection.
So it's more about creating space for a deeper connection than like deprivation.
Exactly. It's about demonstrating devotion through intentional acts of sacrifice.
Looking at all these guides as a whole, I'm struck by how they balance this inner work, like forgiveness and finding peace with like outward actions, like serving others and expressing love.
It's a beautiful integration, isn't it? They acknowledge that true transformation happens on both an internal and an external level.
Yeah. And even though they have different focuses, they all seem to emphasize this idea of intentional action. Like it's not just about reading and reflecting, but taking concrete steps each day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like in the Change Your Life Guide Day 2, the Gratitude Day encourages starting a gratitude journal. A simple but powerful practice.
And the forgiveness guide doesn't just tell you to say, I forgive you, and expect everything to be magically better. Day 3 has you really examining the root causes of your guilt and resentment.
Yeah. It's about understanding yourself better. And then in day 6, you're encouraged to seek guidance and support from others.
Oh, okay.
Recognizes that you don't have to go through this alone.
These guides really seem to offer like a framework, a structure to create positive change in your life.
They do. And what's remarkable is how they encourage a sense of personal empowerment.
Right.
You're not just passively hoping for change.
Right.
You're actively taking steps to create it.
Yeah, it's like taking ownership of your spiritual journey.
Exactly. Now, you were intrigued by that forgiveness letter exercise, the one you write to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
It's a truly powerful practice.
It is. It feels like it could be really challenging to confront those deep-seated feelings of shame and guilt.
It can be, but it's also about acknowledging your own humanity, recognizing that everyone makes mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
The guide helps by having you reflect on a time you forgave someone else.
Right.
You then take that empathy and understanding and turn it inwards.
It's like, if I can forgive someone else for this, why not myself?
Precisely.
Hmm.
It's not about condoning past actions,
Right.
but releasing the burden of guilt and shame.
And then there's the Write Everything You Want guide, which encourages you to write as if your desires are already real. It's a pretty bold approach. Do you think that actually works?
Well, it's about harnessing the power of visualization and aligning your thoughts and beliefs with your desired outcomes. Some people find it incredibly effective, while others are more skeptical. It really depends on your individual beliefs and how you approach the practice.
So it's more about shifting your mindset than guaranteeing a specific outcome.
Exactly. It's about aligning your desires with your values and using that as a driving force.
And what about the Give God 10 Days of Unconditional Love guide and the concept of fasting? Some listeners might be intimidated by that.
Well, it's important to remember that fasting can take many forms. It doesn't have to be about abstaining from food entirely. It could be about giving up social media for a day, limiting your screen time, or anything that helps you create space for a deeper connection with your spirituality.
So it's about finding what works for you and using it as a tool to enhance your spiritual practice. Exactly. It's about being intentional and creating space for what matters most.
These guides offer so many different tools and practices to explore, but at the end of the day, it's up to each individual to decide what resonates with them and how they want to apply these teachings to their own lives.
Yeah, it's like we've laid out this incredible buffet of spiritual tools, and now it's your turn to like taste and see what works for you.
That's a great way to put it. It's like we're exploring these ideas together, bouncing them around and maybe sparking some inspiration for the listeners.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into these Give God 10 Days guides, let's turn it over to you, the listener. If you could dedicate 10 days to transforming one area of your life, what would it be?
Forgiveness, peace, manifesting those big dreams, what would it be?
And what's one tiny step, no matter how small, that you could take today to move in that direction?
Because even those small actions, when done with intention and maybe a little bit of faith, can set you on a path towards a more fulfilling and purposeful life.
It's all about momentum. One step leads to another, and then before you know it, you've created real change.
Absolutely.
So don't just let these guides sit on a shelf gathering dust, put them to use. And hey, maybe after your own 10-day journey, you'll be inspired to create your own WN guide to share with the world.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Imagine the collective wisdom we could gather, the ripple effect of shared transformation.
That's what I love about exploring these resources together. We learn from each other, we challenge each other, and we encourage each other to keep growing.
And in a world that often feels so overwhelming, these guides offer like a structured path, a beacon of hope.
So as we resurface from this deep dive into Give God 10 Days, take a moment to just reflect what resonated with you, what sparked your curiosity.
And most importantly, what action will you take? Remember, even the smallest step can make a world of difference.
We've got links to all the resources we mentioned in the show notes, so be sure to check those out. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep.
Yeah, it's like we've given you this whole toolbox, and now it's up to you to pick which tools you want to use.
That's a good analogy. And that's what makes these deep dives so fun. We get to explore all these ideas together,
Right.
toss them around, and hopefully inspire some people along the way.
So as we wrap up our look at these Give God 10 Days guides, let's turn to you, the listener. If you could dedicate 10 days to transforming one area of your life, what would it be? Forgiveness?
Peace.
Manifesting those dreams you have?
What would it be for you?
And what's one tiny step you could take today to move in that direction? It
Yep.
doesn't have to be big.
Because even those small actions, when they're done with intention and maybe a little faith, can really set you on the path towards a better life, a more purposeful life.
Yeah, it's all about momentum. You
Exactly.
take one step and then another, and before you know it, things are really different.
So don't let these guides just sit there unused.
Mhm.
Put them to use. And hey, maybe after your own 10-day journey, you'll be inspired to create your own guide and share it with the world.
What a fantastic idea. Think about all the wisdom we could all share, the ripple effect of everyone helping each other change.
That's what's so great about exploring these things together. We can all learn from each other, we challenge each other, and we encourage each other to keep growing.
Yeah, and in a world that often feels so overwhelming and chaotic, these guides offer like a clear path, a way forward.
So, as we come to the end of our deep dive into Give God 10 Days, take a second to just think about what really stuck with you. What are you curious about?
And most importantly, what will you actually do? Remember, even the smallest step can make a huge difference.
We've included links to everything we talked about in the show notes, so be sure to check those out. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep on diving deep.